Jai Jai Shri Radeshyam and welcome. Namaste Guru Devaya Sarva Siddhi Pradayine Sarva Magala Rupaya Sarvananda Vidyajine. Mahavira Raman Ki Jai Jai Nitai Jai Gour Jai Jai Shri Radeshyam. From Gourang to Gourang Das. A devotional panorama of 5 centuries by Vraj Gopal Das Agarwal. From Kamalpur, the top of the Jagannath temple was seen. This filled the Lord with great ecstatic joy and devotion. At last, he entered the temple and, unmindful of the ward of some restrictions on the entry, he rushed and leapt to embrace the figure of Jagannath. The guards, also confused and bewildered, ran after him and were on the point of assaulting him. A little later, Nitai and his companion reached the Singadwar and asked the people, "Have you seen our Lord, a young, tall ascetic with golden complexion?" Later on, the Lord was still unconscious. The Bhaktas began kirtan, and the Lord soon regained consciousness. Gradually, Gopinath told Vasudev all about the Lord. Vasudev replied, "He is so young, I fear he may not control his passions. He is, moreover, a Bharti, a lower category of the ascetics. He should be initiated again by the ascetic of a higher rank. But don't worry, I will teach him the Vedas." Gopinath could not tolerate this. He told Sarvabhaum frankly, "Excuse me, but he does not require your help, and very soon you will learn that he is no other than the Almighty. Swayam Bhagavan." Sarvabhaum began teaching the Vedas to the Lord. The former read a verse from the text and then read out Shankaracharya's commentary, while the latter, in all humility and modesty, just kept listening to it quietly. No remark, no question. On the 7th day, the teacher lost patience and said, "Krishna Chaitanya, do you understand what is being read out to you?" The Lord replied, "The Vedic text is very clear, but your explanation based on the Shankar commentary are so ambiguous and mystifying." Upon this, Sarvabhauma gave the Lord a chance to present his interpretations. The Lord, without any preamble, put forth his explanations. He made it clear that the Vedas supported the doctrine of Prem Bhakti. This Prem Bhakti is above caste, custom, or religion barriers. It is something related to the heart and rather than formalities. Even the sages who reveals the Vedas hanker after it. The Lord proved his point. Quoted the Shloka Bhagavatam 1.7.10 and asked Sarvabhauma to interpret it. The latter put forth 9 interpretations of the Shloka. Then the Lord, without touching any of them, put forth 18 new explanations. This was an eye-opener to the great teacher. This is beyond a human being. Who is this young ascetic? Later on, Sarvabhaum did not have a good sound sleep that night. When at last he was asleep, a knock disturbed it and he awoke. He saw before him the ascetic who held in his cloth a garland and some cooked rice, that is the prasad. I'm jumping on these few pages since we studied this already, so you can check all this full story about Sarvabhaum, the Tola and Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu on the previous video. The Lord asked Sarvabhaum to eat prasad. Previously, it was unimaginable for the great lawgiver to eat anything without taking a bath and doing his daily puja. Today, without any hesitation, he took prasad from the Lord and, glorifying it, ate it. He undoubtedly proved that for the sake of Krishna, he didn't care for the current Hindu conventions. Since that cooked rice was Krishna's prasad, it was above everything else, and wasn't this change in his thought and action the result of the blessings of the young ascetic, our Lord, it was indeed a great victory for the Lord. Sarvabhaum now paid no attention to what people said. He shed tears of joy and began to dance as a love-lorn Meera would do. Sarvabhaum wept and danced. All his vanity and bare intellectual discourses came to an end. Finally, Jai Ho! Like Gopinathacharya, he now wholeheartedly believed that the young ascetic was Krishna himself. He openly expressed his feelings in his famous shlokas, Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga, and the Sadak, a collection of the 100 verses. Shatak. Sri Chaitanya Shatak. The six-armed figure of the Lord installed in the Jagannath temple by him is the greatest evidence of his complete surrender to Lord Gauranga. The Lord reached Puri at the end of Falgun. He stayed there in the month of Chaitra at the middle of Vaishak, 1510. He left for South India. He told the devotees that he was going in search of Vishvarup, the elder brother, and would return in a few months. It was only a pretense, as he well knew that Vishvarup had already gone to the eternal abode. Nitai knew that the sole object of the Lord's journey was the reformation of the South. How did he reform? He employed just a few methods: a word, a touch, and a look, as we saw on the previous video. The Lord's look had the same effect from a distance. He cast a look at somebody, and he behaved like a possessed man. So with his touch, he touched or embraced a person, and he was a changed man. The Lord actually adopted these methods as the situation called for. In case of a person who had the vanity of knowledge, he held intellectual discourses by which he brought home to him the futility of the worldly wisdom. It will be worthwhile here to appreciate the hazards of the Lord's journey. Imagine a man who is unarmed. He goes to unknown places, crosses the rivers, climbing the mountains, passing through the dense forest full of wild beasts, and meets unknown people. There is no certainty about his board and lodging. He undergoes frequent fasting and has often to pass the night under a tree. When the Lord set out on the journey, Sarvabhaum requested him to meet Ramananda Roy, the governor of the southern province of Odisha. Accordingly, the Lord met Ramanand at Vidyanagar on the bank of the Godavari river. He was pleased to see Ramanand, as the latter was not only a learned man but also an ardent devotee. The Lord asked Ramanand about the Sadhya Sadhan. Sadhya means the goal of life, the attainment of the lotus feet of Krishna, and Sadhan is the mean to achieve that goal. Ramananda mentioned a number of means. 1. Swadharm Palam. 2. Complete surrender to God. 3. Jnana. 4. Bhakti. 5. Prem. Explaining the Prem factor, Ramanand made it clear that a servant loved his master, a friend loved his friend, parents loved their child, a wife loved her husband, a woman loves her lover. Strangely enough, the Lord was not yet fully satisfied. He accepted that the Parakiya love, a woman's love for her lover, is undoubtedly higher than the conjugal love, because in it there is a total abandon. Whether the lover is worthy or not, she cannot live without him. The Lord, however, wanted something still higher than this, so Ramananda came to the climax. The highest form of worship, he said, was Radha's love for Krishna. Her only object was Krishna's happiness. She had placed at his disposal everything one holds dear in the world. What he did and said, how he acted and behaved, Radha didn't care, as he was her all in all. What was unique about her love was the fact that she didn't even want to monopolize Krishna. When Lord asked Ramanand if there could be anything more, the latter sang a song. Pahalahi Rak Nayam Bang Velo. The song was his own composition. It is Radha's address to her friend, another gopi. In one of the lines, Radha described her mental state, said, Naso Raman, Naham Ramani. Men and women fell in love with each other, but in my case, I was not even conscious that he was a man and I a woman. No human being can go to this extent. Ramanand thought. He quickly put forth a question. Who are you, my lord? I now know you. Sorry. I now know you. Please don't conceal your identity. He fell at his feet and lo, as he looked up, he saw a strangely divine figure, Radha and Krishna, two in one, in place of the ascetic. It was Krishna inside with Radha's golden complexion outside. For a learned devotee like Ramanand, it wasn't difficult now to grasp the reality that the Lord was Raj, Krishna and Mahabhav, Radha, in one body. The sight made Ramanand unconscious. Jai Ramanand, Jai Gour, Jai Gour, Jai Gour. The Lord, after enjoying the company of Ramananda for about a week, proceeded further southwards. He went up to Cape Comorin, Kanyakumari, and came back by another road. The chronicles have mentioned many places the Lord visits. Some of them are Travancore, Khandwa, Pune, Pandupur, Nasik, Daman, Surat, etc. At Sri Rangam, at Belgundi village on the bank of the Kaveri, the Lord spent the Chaturmas, 4th month of the rainy season, at the house of Venkat Bhatt. He was lovingly served by his 10-year-old son, Gopal Bhatt. Gopal Bhatt Goswami Ki Jai. At Goda, the famous prostitute Barmukhi, by the grace of the Lord, was so converted that she altogether changed her lifestyle. She gave all that she had earned to her companions and became a recluse. The most astonishing thing about the Lord was that wherever he went, the rumors that Krishna in the guise of an ascetic was roaming around preceded him. Wasn't Jogmai herself helping the Lord? Jai, of course yes. Without her help, Prem Bhakti could not have spread so easily and perfectly. What about the Lord's search for the elder brother Vishwarup? It wasn't necessary, as he already knew the truth. At Pandharpur, on the bank of the Bhima river, the Lord met Rangpuri, godbrother of Ishvara Puri. He confirmed the news that Vishwarup has entered the eternal abode at Pandharpur. Well, from Dwarka the Lord went to Vidyanagar and met Ramanand again. The Lord had wanted to live permanently with him at Puri. Ramanand gave the Lord good news that Maharaj Prataprudra had happily given him leave to resign his duties and enjoy the company of the Lord. He would, however, take some time to wind up the administrative affairs at Vidyanagar. The Lord took leave of Ramanand and returned to Puri. The joy of the devotees, especially that of Sarvabhaum, Nityananda and his companions, knew no bounds to see him after 2 years. Krishnadas was sent to Nadia with the news of the Lord's return to Puri. Sachi and Vishwarupa got a new lease of life. The devotees of Nadia, nay, in different parts of Gour, Bengal, felt so excited that they, with Advaita Acharya as their leader, left for Puri to meet their Lord and witness the chariot festival of Jagannath. These Gaudiya pilgrims, mostly householders, remained at Puri for 4 months, dancing, singing, eating with the Lord. Thought unwilling to part from him, they had to return to their respective places. During this period, Ramanand joined the Lord and became his constant companion. The Lord, although prohibited as an ascetic from seeing and having contact with royalty, Raja Prataprudra, blessed him at last. One day the Lord had a private meeting with Nitai and told him frankly, "We have no right to think of our own happiness. You will have to go to Gour and, by distributing Harinam and Krishna Prem, save the suffering mankind. Please, Shripad, Nitai, help me in this work." Nitai had no alternative. He, along with his 12 companions, known as Vraj Gopals left for Bengal. Now, every year except when the Lord was away from Puri, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas went to Puri on the occasion of the Rath Yatra. Their wives and children also accompanied them. Once Shivanand Sen's dog also went with the party and reached the residence of the Lord, alone and in advance. Maharaj Prataprudra had made permanent arrangement for the Lord's lodging in the house of the mentor Kashi Mishra, which is now known as Radhakant Mat. The portion of the house where the Lord lived is famous as Gambira. It is near the Jagannath temple and far from the madding crowd. 2 years passed, the Lord could no more stay at Puri. He left for Vrindavan. He reached Nadia in front of his father's house. It is customary for an ascetic to visit the place of his birth once after the initiation. In compliance with this, the Lord went there. We can't think of the Lord without a crowd. Wherever he went, a large crowd preceded him. Nadia was no exception. Vishnupriya had the intuition that her husband would never come again. She mustered courage and the fine old social form, accompanied by her attendants, stepped out of the house. Covered from top to toe, she fell at the feet of her husband. Our Lord, looking at the female figure, read a few steps and said, "Who are you?" "Lord, I am your servant, Vishnupriya." She answered in a sad, subdued tone, "What do you want?" "Give me, my Lord, something to prop me up so long as I am alive." "I am an ascetic. I have nothing to give," the Lord replied. He thought for a while and said again, "Take this and worship Krishna." He put off his wooden sandals. Vishnupriya very respectfully took them and pressing them against her bosom, turned back slowly and silently. Well, the Lord met Sachi, mother, and obtained her permission to go to Vrindavan. Proceeded further. Who can understand the mind of the Lord of Yogamaya Devi? Whoever appears that the Lord came to Ram Kelly only to meet and bless the two brothers with his own spirit, so that they might complete the great task the Lord entrusted to them. His pretext, however, was Vrindavan. Passing through the Jharkhand area, the Lord with his magic figure and sweet harinam attracted and subdued the wild beasts. Even the inanimate objects were filled with Krishna Prem, and the entire nature began to bloom and blossom. Chaitanya Charitamrita give the details. One Krishna Das was born at Lahore, now in Pakistan. He, at the age of 7, saw the Lord in a dream. He rushed to Vrindavan like a possessed person. The only words on his lips were, "My Gourang, where is my Gourang?" Years passed this way. Krishna Das, now quite a young boy, saw the Lord at Govardhan and recognized him at once. Empowered by the Lord, he spread the Lord's teaching and religion in Malabar, Multar, Gujarat, Sindh, and other places. He also installed the Nitai Gour idols in these places, as the Lord very mercifully and affectionately gave him his Gunjamala garland. He was known as Krishna Das Gunjamali. Lord Gourang's wandering in Braj Vrindavan was actually Radha's roaming in search of Krishna, whom she had lost. The Lord at present was not Chaitanya the ascetic. He was truly Radha, feeling the pang of separation from Krishna. The separation was so heart-rending that the Gourang Radha would frequently fall in a swoon and jump into the Kalindi Yamuna, the blackish water of the Yamuna, the side of the black tamal tree, and such other objects will remind her of Krishna, and she will lose control over her body and mind. In that state, it would be almost impossible for the Lord's companion to save him. They at last thought it better to take him away from Vrindavan. The Lord, in the return journey via Soron, Reached Prayag on way, he blessed Bijali Khan and the Pathan prince, his mentor and the companions. In the meantime, Rup left his job and family. We are speaking about Rupa Goswami Pad. He, along with his younger brother Anupam, Sri Vallabh, left for Vrindavan in the hope of meeting the Lord there. It was a pleasant surprise for him to know that the Lord had returned from Vrindavan and at that time was at Prayag. Rupa remained with the Lord for 10 days. During this period, the Lord taught him all basic principles of Vaishnava religion and directed him to go to Vrindavan, live there permanently and write books propagating the Lord's views and philosophy. Empowered by the Lord Spirit, Sanatan Goswami Pad also went to Vrindavan. Both Rupa and Sanatan wrote many books keeping in mind the Lord's viewpoints. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Brihad Bhagavatamritam, Deshbal Nilmani and are a few of the writings. The most important event of the Lord's stay at Kashi was the convention of Prakashanand Saraswati. He was an Advaitic ascetic. He believed that he and Brahm, God, were one and the same. He had the privilege to have 10,000 disciples. He had heard the name of the Lord and had a grudge against him. He held that since Chaitanya was an ascetic, his dancing, singing, weeping was all very unfortunate and despicable. One day, one Maharaj Trija Brahmin, highly impressed by the Lord, arranged a meeting of the Lord and Prakashanand Saraswati. The result of the long, sustained conversation between the two ascetics was the conversion of the Advaitavadi. The Lord repeats what he told about the Vedas to Sarvabhaum at Puri. Prakashanand, who laughed at the Lord's Prem Bhakti, now fell at his feet and began to sing Hari Hari himself. Jai Ho! Prakashananda Saraswati ki jai. Prabodhananda Saraswati ki jai. Hari 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 Bol. Hari 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 Bol. Bol Nityananda Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Bola Sri Gauranga Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. He felt that Chaitanya was Hari in the guise of an ascetic and one mighty fair-colored thief had stolen all he had. His pride and prejudice left him forever and he began to shed tears. The Lord very lovingly embraced him, named him Prabodhanand and directed him to go to Vrindavan. Prabodhanand obeyed the Lord. His Radha Ras Sudanidhi and Chaitanya Chandramrita are classics works. The Lord's dear devotees, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, paid another yearly visit to Puri. This time, Shivananda Sen's wife had a 7-year-old child with her. Shivananda had named him Puridas. After Paramananda Puri, as the Lord had asked him to do last time. Shivanand laid the child at the feet of the Lord. The Lord, addressing the child, said, "Say Krishna, dear." The child did not respond. The Lord repeated the request, but the child kept quiet. The Lord, feeling very sad, alas, I failed to make the child utter the name of Krishna. Svarup said, "No, my Lord. It is not so. The child has accepted Krishna's name as a mantra. How can he utter it in public?" Jai Ho, Jai Ho, Jai Ho. When you receive mantra, you cannot say the mantra openly out loud in public. Otherwise, you lose the mantra and you do mantra aparat. Mantra aparat describing all sampradayas, all parivars, mantras only in japa. "Oh, that's the matter," the Lord said, and asked the tiny being to speak anything else. The child quickly recited shloka, Shrava Soho Kuvalayam. Perhaps the child had not yet learned even the alphabet. All therefore were amazing to see him reciting a Sanskrit verse. The Lord was naturally very happy. Addressing the child, he again said, "Since you have mentioned the earrings of the gopis in your verse, your name will be Karnapur." Jai Ho! Karnapur is an ornament for the ears. Besides, you will be a great poet. Later on, Kavi Karnapur wrote a number of books, including the famous Chaitanya Chandrodaya. The Lord's wandering came to an end. He was now 30 years old. The remaining 18 years of his Leelas were spent at one place, at Puri. He spent 6 years of this remaining period with the Gaudiya devotees. As usual, during this period, Rupa came to Puri. He stayed with the Lord for 10 months. Then Sanatan Goswami Pad came to Puri. He stayed for about a year. For both Rupa and Sanatan, the Puri visit proved to be the last meeting with the Lord. Nitai had been directed by the Lord to stay in Bengal for spreading and distributing Nam Prem, Lord for Krishna and the name of Hari, and not to come to Puri every year. But Nitai came again. This time the Lord passed a more strict verdict, as it were. He said, "Shripat, go back to Gour and be a householder, get married." For Nitai, it was a simple order. It was rather a bolt from the blue. He had been an ascetic for about 40 years. Now he has to give up the order, the life of asceticism. No way, no alternative. This is the Lord's will. Nitai returned to Bengal and married Vasudha Janava, the two daughters of Suryadas Pandit of Ambika Kalna, Vasudha and Janavama. Jai Nitai, Jai Nitai, Jai Nitai, Jai Gour, Jai Jai Sri Radeshyam. We will continue in the next episode. As always, do what is correct. You know what is correct? You are in YouTube. Correct is to give like, subscribe and to share this video. If you feel like, if it's not too much to ask, you can drop comment in support of the channel. Jai Mahavira Radharaman ki Jai. Jai Nitai, Jai Gour, Jai Jai Sri Radeshyam. Gaura Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.